first half of the session today, hoping to walk away with all the answers. You might want to maybe go to a different room, because I'm not here to share all the answers, because again, it's a work in progress, and maybe many of you in the room are sort of in the same boat. So let's have some dialogue, again, questions at the end for all of the panelists or all of the presenters. But let's jump into it, and let me share a little bit about who we are at Rave Mobile Safety, as well as a little bit about my background. That's what I look like under optimal lighting conditions. I actually come out of Rave's customer base, so kind of an interesting pathway into customer success, I think. My background's actually city administration, so I was an assistant city manager just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, where we implemented one of Rave's many solutions in our 911 center to provide additional information and capabilities with an inbound call to 911 during an emergency. Little plug here, it's free. Create a safety profile, go to smart911.com. You can add information about yourself, your family, your home. We store it securely. You travel anywhere around the country that uses our product. If you dial 911 from your cell phone, your information automatically pops up for that call taker to provide hopefully a better response and better outcome. So I just described one of Rave's products. Oh, I should also say I've been with Rave for 5.5 years. The last 1.5 years of that has been sort of developing and heading up our customer success initiative. Rave has been around for the better part of 12 years, pretty well established, huge footprint. We've always interacted and engaged our customer base effectively, but obviously as we continue to grow, we need to scale that more effectively, and you get surprised by a few customers who churn here and there, and you realize, okay, maybe we need to take a step back and kind of approach things in a more systematic manner. So a little bit more about us. We do nothing outside of the public safety space. That's kind of all-encompassing. We can sell literally into any vertical, as you see here, through one of our 6 solutions. So I described one of them. I'll describe a couple of others on the next slides. Within those 6 products, we offer development tools and APIs to plug into other systems and integrate with other solutions. Best of my ability to count product modules, there are about 23 discrete functions and modules across those 6 products. Again, we sell pretty much into any organization that has a responsibility to protect its community. Its community can be its employee base, it can be its students, or it could literally be the residents and visitors of the city of San Francisco. For B2C brands, so through a combination of what I just described to you, Smart 911, as well as a handheld app, fortunately or unfortunately, in customer success, we're not really focused on the B2C. That's more on the B2C marketing side. Those are all free apps for the public. We've got major resellers like AT&T and other major public safety software outfits, and lots of contracts, which is a good thing. However, we're here to talk about hierarchy and how complex it can be. So it'd be really straightforward if each one of those contracts represented a single entity. I'm guessing since you're in this room, you realize that's not the case in a lot of situations. Just visually here, I'll maybe highlight a couple of our other products. So I mentioned the 911 product, which to the consumer, we're branding one way. To B2B, we're calling it the Rave 911 Suite, but basically it's the thing that provides all of these additional capabilities and data with an emergency. We have a workplace and school safety application called Panic Button, not terribly creatively, but sometimes, being literal is helpful. So that's installed in thousands of public schools across the country, as well as some large employers. It enables a faster response both internally and the externally responding agencies. And then what we're probably best known for is our emergency or mass notification tool, which is called Rave Alert. That product is covering upwards of 50% of the US student body on college and university campuses. If any of you have graduated post 2007, which was the Virginia Tech shooting, you're probably used to receiving these things on your phone or your email or following social media feeds from your university public safety. We provide one of those industry-leading solutions, and a couple of others. We used to sell this in a highly siloed manner, and the reason for that is because that's the way the product was engineered, right? Rave Alert, we only sold into institutes of higher education and occasionally an inbound lead from a corporation or some other entity where we could kind of make it fit. Smart 911, as it used to be called, we only sold to 911 centers because obviously you need to have a 911 center in order to leverage it. Well, over the years, there's been some cross-pollination in the product, both based out of customer feedback and industry needs and trends. Obviously also out of sort of our corporate objectives. So that makes the hierarchy a little bit more complex, right? So now instead of single product, single vertical, you've now got teams selling multiple products into almost any vertical. So it creates these really funky permutations where you've got some just straight up single customer, single product relationships. Then you've got single customer, multiple products. Then you've got parents with child accounts who all use the same product, but maybe there's like a couple of other child accounts that use some additional product as well that they purchased on their own, for example. Lots and lots of permutations. A little bit of an over-exaggeration here, but like if you've seen one of our customers, you've seen one of our customers. Again, it's an exaggeration, but there's a lot of permutations. So, one example, one of my colleagues on the team is sitting in the third row, Kevin Hatline. He's responsible for customer success in the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan has purchased our 911 solution for every single 911 center in the state. There's 144 of them. Lots of them were customers before the state purchased. Lots of them own other product. So how do we make sense of this mess, quite frankly? These challenges are not unique to Rave Mobile Safety. These are things that you worry about as well, right? How do you visualize these complex relationships and hierarchies? How do you determine health, especially in one of these complex environments where you've got parent, child, product permutations, as I like to call them? How do you benchmark health across your user base so that you can develop like an early warning system for at-risk accounts or determine where to focus your energy, time, and effort? Again, obvious, right? So kind of visualize here, enter Totango. We're a Totango customer. We have been for a little under a year. How do you make sense of like the NYPDs, Mattel Toys, Purdue Chicken Farms, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and like figure out how to manage your customer base? Well, we ram it through Totango and see what comes out the other end. This is pretty small here. I do have an expanded view of what's on the right, but what you should at least be able to get an idea of over on the left here is that we've segmented our customer base according to product, according to some proxy of the size of the account. So in the 911 sector, it's how many 911 calls they receive in a month, and we kind of tier them out into 3 different segments. Then we also have customer journey stage segments because user action and behavior in an onboarding customer probably looks different from an established customer. In some sense or some instances for us, the onboarding customer, I would actually expect to be using the product more heavily than the established user. It's a little counterintuitive, but if you think about an emergency notification system, you hope during onboarding they're firing off tests and getting familiar and training with the product, and then hopefully bad stuff doesn't happen. But it does, there's bad weather, there's flooding, there's snowstorms, there's the occasional, wacko running around campus. So we're still playing with this. We're still trying to sort through kind of the proverbial mess. And then on the right, you're going to have an expanded view here on the next slide. So this is an example of probably not our most complex relationship or hierarchical arrangement here, but I think it illustrates kind of the challenge and what we're hoping to solve for. So Snowpack is a 911 center that serves about 750,000 people north of Seattle. They use our 911 product. Through a state grant, they've purchased our panic button for all of their public schools in the county. So there's about 100 schools that are using that solution. Those are technically child accounts because they don't hold a contract with us. They're also using our emergency notification product and some other stuff. So at the top line here, once you drill into this account, you can kind of see their status, contract start, renewal date, ARR, where they're located, sort of top line stuff. We're starting to document our customer success activities. inside of Totango. So you'll see we hosted a user group there beginning of November for all of our regional customers. And then down here you start getting into, okay, what products do they own? Where's their health? There's a little bit of artifact here in the red portion of the circle in the sense that we haven't yet instrumented our product or our panic button product into Totango. So basically all of those school districts look like they're in the red. I know they're not. And in the green is, Smart 911 and Rave Alert. So, there's further drill down capabilities here. There are other features within the product that allow us to, segment the customer base, reach out to them in an automated or one-to-many fashion through tech touches or campaigns, as Totango calls them, so that we can try to drive customer behavior, maximize their value, hopefully, from what they're spending quite a bit of money in some instances with us for, and target the people that need to be targeted, nurture the ones that are kind of on the right path, and reach out to sort of our strategic accounts with a slightly more personal touch. You can document things like tasks for follow-up activities and things like that. Who in here, just by show of hands, is a current Totango user, customer? A third-ish? Okay. So let's kind of jump to lessons learned. I want to make sure the next group gets enough time, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the very end. So the top one is a big one for me. Health of a parent-level account or the contract holder is not necessarily the sum of the health of the child accounts or the sum of the health of the products those child accounts use. So, for example, we go back to that 911 center. I know they use the 911 product heavily, but they actually use it pretty heavily as it relates to school safety in their county. So you know what? They're not using some of the other features of the 911 solution that I know generates tremendous ROI for other customers across the country. I don't lose sleep about it because I know they're happy and I know they're using these other features. Child account health. We have some products that can be leveraged much more heavily and regularly than others, but because they integrate into another product that might get utilized a little bit less frequently, I'm pretty confident that they're not going to ditch, the product that they use a little less frequently because they're so heavily invested in this first one. So these are some of the things that we're wrestling with. I'm hopefully working with the product team at Totango to try to weight health at the child or product level so that when it rolls up to the parent level, I can get a realistic view and not have to add a subjective measure to all this stuff. If you're just embarking on a hierarchical relationship, make sure you're working with your Salesforce or CRM administrator to make sure that your organization of the data lends itself well if you start pursuing something like Totango or another analytics tool. And then also, where do you apply your CS resources, both human resources and technology resources, to have the greatest impact? And obviously, if you're talking about a complex hierarchy, you're talking about, I think, by virtue of that, a complex structure in your CS team potentially, and maybe generalists as opposed to specialists, because we won't assign multiple CSMs to a single account because they own multiple products. That makes no sense. So some things to think about. I think with that, I'll end and turn it over to my colleagues here and be back in a little bit for questions. So thank you very much.